Kia ora, explorers! Welcome to another wonderful interview with the team behind Adaptory. Today, we have such a delight getting to meet some of the faces that we haven't seen around as much. You might not have seen at a bunch of conventions and things like that, but it's just as important in the final product. Please welcome the wonderful Evan!
Hello, Kia ora, everybody.
What is it that you are contributing to the whole Adaptory team, Adaptory process, Evan?
So I'm the audio designer for the project, so that means that I do the sound effects. I also do the technical integration, working with Jevin, not so much as a programmer, but more working with middleware. And then I also have a hand in the overall design of the aesthetics of the game, so how poppy and cutesy or how mean and aggressive some of the sound effects are, and then just general boring audio processing stuff, mixing and things like that.
Bunch of things. Dozens of things.
Yes.
How long have you been working in this kind of area for?
So I've been doing this for about 4 years now. I have a couple of games, none of which have come out. So Adaptory is not the first game that I've worked on, but it's the first game that will be released, which is awesome.
Yes!
Love that. Love a project that makes it to the end. And so I've got about 4 years and a couple games worth of experience under my belt for this, and I teach this also at a technical college.
Myself, I joined the Adaptory team as part of doing some voice acting stuff originally and stuck around to make more friends. But how did you yourself get involved in working on Adaptory?
So that's a very interesting story. I was working with another company based out of Singapore, and they had flown me out to Germany for Gamescom 2023. And so while I was there, we were sharing a booth with the Toge guys who made Coffee Talk. And so Jevin had come to say hi to the developers who made Coffee Talk. And while we were there, I met Jevin. We talked. This is back in the early stages. She hadn't really decided what her audio engine was going to look like. So we talked a little bit about that, exchanged information, went our separate ways. And in the process of that, I wishlisted Adaptory, and she wishlisted my game that I was working on. And so when the game kind of fell apart, we had released a demo on Steam. Even though I was out of a job now, a whole bunch of people who had wishlisted the game got notified that there was a demo coming out, and Jevin was one of them.
Yeah.
And so she messaged me to congratulate me on my game coming out, and I had to say, well, funny story about that, I am out of a job now.
Oh no.
To which she responded, great, do you want another one? Quite literally, because I got let go, because that project imploded, Jevin got a notification that I was open to work. Wow. And so now I'm here a year and a half, almost 2 years later.
And hey, that shows you the importance of wishlisting games, folks. Make sure that you've wishlisted.
Shows you the importance of wishlist the game.
Wishlist the game, please.
Wishlist the game.
Wishlist it. I was looking at our press info before, and I noticed earlier that your education is more in the realm of jazz. Is that correct?
Yeah, I initially studied jazz performance as a singer / piano player for many years, and then around the pandemic, when everybody got caught spending way too much time inside, I started playing way more video games, and now we're here.
One thing that I did want to talk to you about for Adaptory in particular, because I've been lucky enough to get to play it a fair bit. The environmental sound effects that are going on in the game, I wanted to compliment you on, because it is one of the games that I have played that I distinctly remember knowing that there is a problem going on, because I can hear specific sound effect that should not be there among the many wonderful sound effects that should. What was the most interesting, or potentially the most trickiest curveball in terms of making that whole kind of environmental soundscape for a game like this?
This is a game where 90 to 95% of all the sounds that you hear are less than 0.5 seconds long. Right? It's a game that's all about the user experience. And so it's a lot of button clicking, a lot of button pressing, a lot of notifications, a lot of things like that. And so making something that sounds good, distinct, but also cohesive, and everything has to sound like this. Pop, That's really hard. That's really hard. And so it took a lot of trial and error to find like what is the right kind of addition that you can add on to this thing that makes it sound like you're opening up the overlay for the gas network. You're opening up the overlay for the electrical network. You're opening up the automation network. Assigning different priorities for explorers. How do you make sounds that sound as though it's different than just selecting them? How do you make selecting them sound a little bit more interesting than just selecting a building? And how do you have all of that not distract from the core experience, which is listening to buildings kind of hum in the background and like listening to them move around and walk around and all that stuff. And what's really kind of nice is that every once in a while you get to make a big sound. You know, every once in a while you get to have like 5 or 6 seconds to be able to like express something cool or interesting. So like when you finish a research tree, for example, that's a sound that's like way more involved than like a lot of the other user interface sounds, and you get to have a little bit more fun because you get to kind of like crunch a bunch of sounds together and have something that's like a little bit more elaborate. But this is really just a sound about like how many different ways can you make a click sound good.
Yeah. Every now and again you get a gleaming spotlight of 6 seconds to be able to make a cool prolonged sound.
I mean, welcome to the world of a sound designer.
In terms of working on this project in particular, did this work on this project involve a combination of like sound design and Foley design? This is me talking as a person that doesn't know sound design super well.
Yeah, so the general process for me when I do any sound basically is a combination of all three. You'll use a couple of sounds from like pre-made libraries, but mostly it's synthesis and Foley, where you'll take things that kind of sound like this. I have a big box of clay pellets, and then like, you know, some gambling chips, some glass. And so you mix that with a little bit of synthesis, the sound of some bubbles popping. Bubbles are great in general for anything that makes like satisfying UI sounds. So you combine a little bit of all of that together and you make for something interesting, because the goal of Adaptory was it both had to sound very wholesome and lighthearted, but it also still has to sound a little bit realistic, you know? It has to still capture that what you're doing is you're digging and you're building machines. If you do it entirely with synthesis, it's possible, but it's really hard. And if you do it entirely with Foley, it's possible, but it's pretty sterile. And so if you combine the two together, then you get something, I think, a little bit more interesting. So it's a nice combination of both, and then a little bit of sounds that are a little bit too dangerous for me to record on my own. Like, I don't own a blowtorch. I'm not going to buy one. I don't want to set my apartment on fire. If I loved the game more, I might. But
you were really dedicated to set your apartment on fire.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite combination of things that got turned into a sound for Adaptory? Is there anything that is unexpected that ended up making the right noise for what you needed?
Oh, I think yes. The favorite thing that I did was Charlie. I did the voice acting for Charlie. And how I did the voice acting for Charlie is I took the worst microphone that I own and I just recorded. It's in from like a Sony tape deck that I found in a parking lot. I took the worst microphone that I own and I did some voice acting, and I heavily distorted it and pitch shifted it randomly in like very short intervals to make it sound like it was the ghost coming out of the machine.
Amazing.
And I didn't think that it would work, but it sounds pretty good. If you need lo-fi, you need lo-fi equipment, you know, and there's nothing more lo-fi than dumpster diving. It's an interesting thing that sound design kind of does, because it requires you to look for the colors and like the really interesting textures that come from whatever. You take a really bad microphone and then you can make something really cool with the sound, the gross sounds that come out of it. The actual kind of technical work comes in the post-processing, where you have to kind of decide afterwards how much of the grossness of that lo-fi or that like improvised sound do you actually want to keep, and how much of it do you want to like get rid of, and how do you get rid of it, and how do you pick and choose which gross parts of the noise do you want?
Are there any other particular elements of working on Adaptory itself that have stuck out to you over this process of like unique to working on Adaptory in terms of other projects that you've done?
I mean, it certainly offered me the opportunity to hone a lot of the stuff. Nothing like working on UI sounds for 2 years to get pretty good at making UI sounds. For all the audio nerds out there, we use a middleware integration engine called Fmod, which I knew vaguely how to use before I started on the project. My experience was with another one and with a direct engine integration. So it was an opportunity to learn that and do some really good stuff. The thing that kind of sticks out is how well the project is run, because making a game is very difficult. Making a game that can manage to secure its funding and can manage to like create a following is even harder. And then doing all of that stuff and actually finishing the damn thing is the hardest of all. Having somebody like Jevin who is very good at actually managing a team, managing milestones, working with people, and like has a very clear artistic vision in her mind for like what the game is, that's actually been a surprising, I guess, luxury that I wouldn't have expected going into a project like Adaptory, because you don't really know how nice it is to have somebody who is that good at doing it until you have it, and then you realize that all the problems that you had encountered before were actually just due to poor management. It does really help that it's kind of fun. You know, me and the composer for this game, Sai Natarajan, especially towards the middle of the development period when we were testing a lot of stuff out, we would kind of hop onto Discord calls and play the game together. There was a period of time where we got kind of sidetracked just hanging out playing Adaptory for 5 hours when I should have been bug testing. And so I then became 5 hours behind on my bug testing just because we were vibing.
I have no other big questions to ask you, but I have a lot of quickfire questions if you feel ready for a super not scary quickfire round.
Let's do it. Lightning round.
Question 1, in terms of gaming, controller or mouse and keyboard?
Controller 100% of the time. I have tendinitis.
Question 2, what is your favorite mineral?
What is a mineral? My favorite mineral is iron. I don't think that's a mineral.
We'll go with it. Question 3, please explain your job to people that don't understand gaming at all.
Doing that for like a year.
Question 4, if you could only take one personal belonging to space, what would it be?
I have a magic rock, and it's very cool. It's not in this room right now, but I do have a magic rock that I can't get lost, and I would take it with me to space. It's great.
Question 5, what is the best thing that gravity does?
I thought these were supposed to be easy.
I just said they're
What's
quick
the
fire.
best thing that gravity does? Roller coasters.
Question 6, if you were to wake up tomorrow on a planetoid somewhere in space, what's the first thing you would do?
Shout echo, 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 really, really loudly.
Not with an echo, just shouting echo over and over.
Yeah, exactly, and then probably suffocate.
And question 7, and you can feel free to take your time on this one. Please tell me a secret about working on Adaptory that only I will hear and the audience will know how spicy it is based on my facial reaction. Yes! Amazing! Thank you so much for chatting to me about all the cool things you do, Evan. I'm super looking forward to everybody getting to experience all of your wonderful work on this game. Now we're coming up to early access release, January 26th. This will come out before then, so make sure that you've wishlisted the game on Steam, please.
Wishlist the game, please.
Thank you so much. Well, we shall see you next time. Thank you so much for tuning in. Ka kite, explorers!
Bye, everyone!